Good morning, everybody. Sam here, live on United People's TV, 2 days in a row. First time in a long time that's happened. How are we all doing? It's the January transfer window, but there's not exactly much movement with Manchester United, is there? That's why the main talking points, we're speaking about Anthony Martial. We're speaking about the return of Paul Pogba to training, a little bit ahead of schedule. We are going to be speaking about Amadou Haidara. Apparently, we've got to have a conversation about John McGinn, which I wasn't really expecting. We're going to be speaking about our pursuit of a new manager. We're going to be speaking about Cristiano Ronaldo, about Martial, about Ragnick, about Donny van der Beek. There's a lot of talking points to have this morning. How are you all doing? I can see plenty of you down here in the comments. And Sam Carlisle, Vitzerim, you're there. Paul, good morning to all of you. Paul Swift, plenty of you. Good morning. Look, I've got a new microphone. What do you think about the new microphone? Hopefully it sounds slightly better. I've changed the lighting a little bit as well. I'm trying to do the finer touches and to improve the streams because we are back in business. It's going to be quiet. As I said, it's been a good few weeks since I've been physically able to do these regularly. Really missed them. Enjoyed the one yesterday. And today, how are there so many talking points from yesterday? I don't know. But it seems like a lot happened yesterday. I'm going to start off by speaking about Amadou Haidara because, let's be honest, that's the most important thing for Manchester United right now. We need a midfielder in January. I would probably argue our ability to get into the top four kind of hinges on it. Because if we were to get top four without signing a midfielder, it would have to be a hell of a turnaround by McTominay, Fred, Matic, Pogba. We can have a conversation about Pogba. There's a comment there that caught my eye, so I'm going to read it out. Where is it? Somebody saying that I never mentioned his name, McTalkative. It's not really a name, is it? MC Talk. Unless your name is MC Talkative, and then fair enough. That's a pretty cool name. Morning to all of you. Yeah, we've got Brentford tomorrow as well, by the way. I'm going to have my predicted 11 out for the Brentford game. That's going to come out at about 2 o'clock. Just before or after Ragnick's press conference, which happens today as well. But the mood among United fans right now is no one really knows what to say anymore that we haven't already said. Nobody knows what to talk about that we haven't already talked about. That Villa game, yeah, that you saw my you saw my match reaction after the Villa game, and I was kind of speechless. I really was. I was like, what can you say about after that game that we haven't already said? But it was just like the worst example of it. And we all know that the midfield was where the game disappeared, eh? The game disappeared in that second half. And for me, it was all down to our midfield. Will we sign a bloody midfielder in the January transfer window? We know that we need midfielders. We've needed midfielders for years and years and years. This isn't a new conversation. This is something we've repeated and repeated. Donny van der Beek is really the only central midfield signing we've made in the last 5, 6, 7 years or so. And we hardly play him. Matthew, I can see you down there. Good morning to you, my friend. Joined as a member. I'm really looking forward to pumping up the content again. It's been cranked down because of everything that's happened the last few weeks, but I'm really going to start turning it up. And there's going to be some members-only exclusive content. I think, as I said it previously, I thought about moving the pre-match content behind closed doors, and I think I'll do that. But I'm just working on that at the moment whilst I get everything working again. Paul, I can see a comment, a question from you here quickly before I get started. Are you going to do a press conference reaction? I'm sure he'll be asked about Martial too. I don't normally do press conference reactions. There's already, I think every other channel already does one. So I was like, what's the point of doing one? I might do one though. We'll see. But look, let's go over and let's talk about Haidara, eh? This is the latest coming from Germany from, is it Patrick Berger? I think is it Patrick? Yeah, of course it's Patrick Berger. Not that Patrick Berger. He's saying that Manchester United and Newcastle are both interested in signing Amadou Haidara, who's dreaming of playing in the UK. And it's something that's been reiterated here quite a few times. Dream club is United. That's who he supported as, I know that so many people actually say that, but they don't really actually mean it. But Haidara, multiple times, has been said that the club he supported as a kid was United. So we're in talks. But Leipzig's point of view is quite clear. No interest to sell him in the January transfer window, sorry. Release clause of 40 million euros activates in the summer. What do you think about Haidara? Do you think that we'll sign him? Do you think that he's the right midfielder for us to sign? Because, in my opinion, I don't think he's the exact midfielder that we need. I think that if Ralph Ragnick wasn't our manager, we wouldn't be having a conversation about Amadou Haidara. No one would even really know who he was, apart from those who watch the Bundesliga. But because he's come in, you know that Haidara would be a very good signing for Ragnick, and his system would work a lot better with Haidara in it. But it would be a manager type signing. I think we spoke about this yesterday. The club shifted away from manager type signings under Solskjaer, and we made signings first and foremost with a long-term vision and plan for the club. Maybe it didn't work out as far as you're concerned with Maguire and Wan-Bissaka, but it wasn't like Mourinho coming in and buying whoever he wanted, Van Gaal coming in and buying whoever he wanted. That's why it's a little bit different here with Haidara, but United simply, we need a midfielder. For me, I think Dennis Zakaria is far more likely simply because of the price. I think Zakaria is somebody who could come in. You already watched my, I did a full story on him. I was taking a look at his stats, what sort of midfielder he is. And I can see him being the sort of midfielder that just screens in front of the defense, protects the defense, and does it quite well. Haidara is somebody who's far more naturally part of the pressing game. A completely different type of midfielder to Zakaria. And maybe it will be a better midfielder, but it'll be a midfielder, as you can see there, he's got a release clause of 40 million euros in the summer. So therefore, he's going to cost what? Near enough that amount, right? And I don't think United are going to do that for a signing for a player that I don't really think was on our radar at all until Ralph Rangnick came in. Let's go down here. It's a comment here flying in from Andy. Good morning to you, Andy. How you doing? Can you do me a favor, please? Set your intro a little bit longer. When I get live stream notification, I miss the beginning every time. Andy, you need to get better at your notifications. I'll try and do that. I'll try and do it a few seconds longer so you don't miss the beginning. Apologies to you, my friend. Hamad, you're spamming the comments, but I'm going to read this one out. But try not to spam the comments, my friend. We do need Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham, according to James Ducker, is our top target. But in my opinion, I think we shouldn't get... I don't even think we should really have a conversation about Jude Bellingham. Dortmund are losing Haaland this summer. You think they're really going to lose Haaland and sell Bellingham in the same summer? Nah, they won't do that. They won't do that. We know what Dortmund are like. When they didn't want to sell Sancho, we tried to squeeze them all summer, and we were left without Sancho. I think the exact same thing would happen with Bellingham if we went after him. Dave Davis saying we need a good specialist CDM to replace McFred. Hell, Dave, our whole midfield needs complete regeneration, doesn't it? Complete regeneration. It's like leaving a garden to overgrow for years and years and years, and you're going in and you're like, where do you start? There might be a couple of nice flowers somewhere, but they're just among the weeds. That's what Manchester United's midfield options are like. We've got Matic, who, he's 33, so technically he's not completely past it, but he doesn't suit it. He's not mobile enough. He has to have teammates that don't expose him. So he's good at screening the defense, winning the ball back, and just passing it off to somebody else. If you make Matic cover a 15, 20 yard square gap, he can't do it. And that's effectively what happens at Manchester United so much, because Fred is such a pressing defender and McTominay likes going box to box. Matic kind of gets left isolated a lot of the time. Comment here flying in from Ian. How you doing, Ian? Nice to see you this morning, my friend. Haidara may not fix United right now, but we need a fix immediately. We do need a fix immediately, man. We do need a fix immediately. And I don't know what that is. We've got just under 2 weeks to do it, and we spoke about it yesterday. I'm going to speak about John McGinn next. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm going to speak about John McGinn next. But Man United, man, I don't think... Where do you think we'll finish this year? Let me know in the comments. I'll be interested here. Where do you think we'll finish if we don't sign a midfielder? We've got Paul Pogba coming back. I'll speak about that at some point soon. As I said, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this really is a stacked show today. I don't know how there's so many talking points between our live stream yesterday and today, but I suppose that's what happens in January. I'm going to speak about John McGinn, Paul Pogba, Ragnick-Martial, Andreas Pereira, Donny van der Beek. So many talking points. Let's see. You think we'll finish 6th? Take off. You're still confident of 4th. Ozzy, you're going for a 5th spot finish. Phil, you're thinking 7th or 8th, 6th, 10th. You need a fix every time. Yeah, you need to contact your local drug dealer. Don't do that. That's a stupid idea. 6th, 5th. Hey, look, United have been at AC Milan for a long time. I think United will really struggle to get inside that top 4 without a new midfield signing. Miracles can happen, of course. Fred could dominate. Paul Pogba could come back in and have a stunning end to the season. I think he probably will because he's got to put himself in the shop window. But we need someone in January, man. I think we just need someone in January, and it's full on neglect if we don't. What's the point in spending all this money? We've got a new manager coming in. Remember that. I probably think that Ten Hag and Pochettino probably would come to Manchester United without Champions League football, but you're just putting the new manager into the club on a back foot, which is not what we need. From where we were last year, there's a comment, I think it was from Nick yesterday, saying that at the start of this season that we were one midfielder away from, as far as we were all concerned, challenging for the Premier League title, to where we are now. It's chaos. It's utter chaos. So to go from that and then a year later to be in the Europa League under a new manager, it's like, oh, fuck's sake, you've got to put everything in neutral for another year, wait to get into the Champions League, and then start. It will just delay whoever's coming in by a year. So that's why top four is so important this year. But we know that we're just not good enough for it at the moment. So midfield, could it be John McGinn? Not in January apparently, but James Ducker. As I say, there's certain journalists that I really trust when it comes to articles coming out about David Ornstein, James Ducker, Jason Burt. There are a few of them, and James Ducker here saying that John McGinn is a summer transfer target for Manchester United. The Scotland international is admired by Fletcher. Darren, don't be doing this to us, please. Said Manchester United have shortlisted the Aston Villa midfielder John McGinn as a potential signing this summer when the club hopes to have deals lined up in tandem with the arrival of a new manager. Now, John McGinn, every time you watch Aston Villa, John McGinn's a workhorse. John McGinn's, you can see he's a bit of a leader on the pitch. I can understand the attributes that we might see in John McGinn and go, okay, we're missing those sorts of players at Manchester United. I understand that much. But this is the crux of it all. McGinn is 27. He's got 2 years left on his contract. And Villa don't need to sell. I mean, look, I suppose you could say what James Ducker said there. This is the last summer they could get a big fee for him. But he's 27. He's got a couple of years left on his deal. He's going to cost, I would imagine, Premier League tax, Man United tax, British tax. 50 mil, 40, 50 mil, I think McGinn would cost. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And for that price, you can stick McGinn in the bin. There's no way in hell would I want Manchester United to spend 40, 50 million on John McGinn, especially when you're looking at the likes of Frank Kessie, who is available on a free transfer. FREE, everyone's favourite word, should be United's favourite word. It is United's favourite word. Free transfer this summer. And that we're talking about spending 50 mil on John McGinn. Nah, park that idea. Absolutely park that idea. John McGinn's available on a free. Who else is available? Look, Amadou Haidara is available on a 40 million euro release clause. It just seems a lot of money. It seems a lot of money. Sam, you're spot on here. 45 million. You could probably get Neves for that. You probably could. You could probably have an argument about Ndidi with Leicester if you want to. You could definitely get Tchouameni from Monaco. Look, the list of midfielders that you could spend 50 million on instead of McGinn is quite extensive. So there's absolutely no way that I would want Manchester United to go after him. McGinn's a good player, man. But given his age, given the contract, given the situation, it'd be way overpriced. Way overpriced. And I don't want Manchester United to do that. I want United to go, just make smart signings, man. We need to make smart midfield signings. There's no point. I genuinely, it's kind of exhausting getting angry about it anymore. I've become a bit distanced from it, I suppose. I think that's the best way we can all describe it. We've all been saying that we need a midfielder for so long that you're just a bit exhausted repeating the conversation. But it's so obvious when you Bagel FC is in how much that midfielder could have improved it. And it go back to something that we've all said, I think, all along. It's just so frustrating that we didn't sign one in the summer, that we were told that there was no money, that we went and signed Ronaldo. Can you imagine how different our season could have been had we signed that proper midfielder? Like, say we got Ruben Neves. How different our season could have been. My word. Jeez, my word. There was a comment there, caught my eye. Where is it from? It's from Sashi. How you doing? Cheers from Japan, Sam. Got here late since just got off work. Hope all is well. What did I miss? Good morning. Good evening. I'm guessing it's good evening to you. How you doing? Yeah. we're here moaning about the midfield, Sashi. We're here speaking about Haidara. So talks are ongoing with Haidara. There was no point me coming live. You know, as I say, it's the January transfer window. I'll bring you live videos as and when stuff breaks throughout the day. Same as I do with the summer. But that wasn't big enough to do a separate video on. Just Patrick Berger saying that talks are underway. Hopefully things need to move. We've got 13 days. Problem is it's in and around games, right? But that shouldn't really be a problem because it's down to John Murto, probably Darren Fletcher. I imagine he's involved in it, in getting these deals done. Haidara is obviously somebody that Ragnick would love to have. Whether or not he gets him, it's a different conversation altogether. And look, this is the conversation I was speaking about. We were speaking there about what happens next year with Manchester United's new manager. Maybe it's going to happen before. In fact, one second. There's something's caught my eye. Now, this is definitely going to get a straight ban. Don't say shit like this. You saw everything that happened yesterday with DT, right? I'll say this. I met the guy a few times. He's a fucking idiot. The guy's been an absolute idiot he's an absolute danger. And I hope he stays in jail for as long as possible. And that is the last I'm going to say on that situation. End of that. Mods, you see anything like that, straight ban. No conversation. Anyway, back here to speaking about Manchester United's search for a new manager, because stories came out yesterday from Samuel Luckhurst from Manchester Evening News that maybe United are going to be doing things before the end of the season. Manchester United could appoint their next permanent manager before the end of the season. There have been developments to settle on a full-time successor, and the clubs could secure an agreement well in advance of the summer's transfer window. What do you think about that? I'm kind of surprised. Am I surprised? I would be surprised if Ten Hag, before the end of the season, agreed to leave Ajax. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe it would just be. Maybe I'm wrong. Pochettino, don't really know what's going on PSG, but I suppose as soon as PSG get knocked out of the Champions League, or if they win it, fine, fair enough. If they get knocked out of the Champions League, they're probably going to be speaking about him getting sacked. But what do you think? What do you think about that? Do you think the United will appoint that manager, or have the deal in place to bring that new manager in before the end of the season? Or do you think we're going to be waiting start of June? We still need a new manager. What do you think? What's the best case scenario for United? What's your opinion on that one? There's a couple of comments here firing in. Gungshi from Andy. How you doing, Gungshi? My man out in Taiwan. Now would be the perfect time for Pogba to return and show his worth by providing assists for the strikers. I would love for that to happen, regardless of whether he stays or goes. I completely and utterly agree with you, my friend. Completely and utterly agree. I'm not sitting here saying I don't want Pogba to play for Manchester United and take it by storm. Of course I do. But I want players who want to play for Manchester United, man. And maybe United isn't the most exciting and enticing place to play anymore. But I still want to see Paul Pogba coming back. The guy who's still our top assists. He's still got more assists this season than any other player for Manchester United in the Premier League after getting 4 in one game against Leeds. He got 5 in his first 2, didn't he? Unbelievable. Paul Pogba on his day, geez, man, we know that. But I'm just done with it. I'm drawing a line under it. But I would love for him to come back into the team and have you remember when Adebayor was always playing for a contract and he'd have that 3-4 month period where he looked like one of the best strikers in the world. He'd get his new contract and he'd be like, meh. It's kind of what Matic did last year. Was it last year or year before? When he played, he had an incredible few months, got a new deal, and then played crap. I don't think that's going to happen with Paul Pogba. I think he's going to go on to be an excellent player elsewhere, but I think it will be elsewhere. But between now and the end of the season, you're damn right, I want him to come back in. Man, we got Champions League next month. Imagine Paul Pogba comes back in, plays an absolute stormer, and all of a sudden, Manchester United have nailed it in the Champions League. This is from Cristiano Ronaldo yesterday. Took us all by surprise. Ralph Ragnick said that Paul Pogba wasn't going to be... Well, I think the next game that he was expected to be available for was the 20th of February, which is, I think, after our game against Atletico Madrid. But Paul Pogba being back in training now, what's your reaction to that? You let me know what you think about this Paul Pogba situation. I will read out a few of your comments. There's a comment here from Andy coming in saying, I don't think the one midfielder is enough to change our game. We need at least 3 new, fresh and hungry players. Just my opinion, Sam. Hey, Andy, look, I won't disagree with you at all. It's what I said. Manchester United's midfield situation, it's like an overgrown garden. Like an overgrown garden. It's just tons of weeds everywhere. And we need We need a replacement for Matic. We need an upgrade on McTominay, and that's 2. And you could really argue about basically every other position. There's not one player in that midfield other than Bruno Fernandes that you would really argue that okay, we're solid enough there. Every other player you could argue about an upgrade. Matic is the most prevalent and most necessary upgrade. Then I think it's a conversation and an argument between McTominay and Fred. And in my opinion, it's 3 midfielders like you say there. It's a new version of Matic, and it's an upgrade on both McTominay and Fred. That would give United the midfield strength and depth that we could then have McTominay and Fred as our backup players. And I think they're both excellent squad players. I've maintained that the whole way through. I don't think United are ever going to win the Premier League or the Champions League with McTominay and Fred as our starting midfielders. But I think, I don't know, compare Fred to Nicky Butt maybe. And that's probably been a little bit unfair on Nicky Butt. But Nicky Butt might have been a midfielder that no one really said was that good. But Nicky Butt played a central role for United for a long, long time. He might have been behind Scholes and Keane in the pecking order, but it's all about having strength and depth in your squad. I think Fred and McTominay are that sort of level. Your Nicky Butt type players. But we need a Scholes or Keane type players, the first team players to come in. So we probably need 3 players for sure. 1 out and out central defensive midfielder, 2 proper central midfielders. Having those 3 signings, I think completes the squad. That might be a bit strong, but certainly far, far better. Now, Paul Pogba, let me see what you think about this down in the comments here. Victorim, you're saying that Pogba isn't overrated. I don't think Pogba's overrated, no. But don't know. It just leaves you with I don't know how to describe. As I said, I've been up and down about Paul Pogba for basically his whole time at Manchester United. But I'm personally done with the circus. Like, he doesn't want to sign a contract. That's cool, man. You are completely entitled as a human to make your own decision. My own decision is to say, all right, I'm done with it. So therefore, I'm not going to get too angry about it anymore. If Pogba comes back in, nails it, you're damn right I'm going to support him. If Pogba plays crap, I'm going to be like, well, what do you expect of a player who doesn't really want to play for Manchester United anymore? That's kind of where I leave it. That's where I see it right now. I'm not going to get too invested in Paul Pogba either way, because he's leaving in the summer. He's not going to sign a new contract. There's no way if Paul Pogba at the end of all of this signs a new contract, I'm going to be like, well, what was the fucking point in that? What was the point in making everybody wait that long? And it will just kind of like take a little bit of the shine away from it. I just don't think he is. He'd be available on a free transfer. He's probably going to go Real Madrid. Pogba on a free transfer to Real Madrid, or maybe Pogba on a free transfer again back to Juventus. Don't know. We'll see. Let's go down here and see what you're saying in the comments. Pogba's been a major letdown. 5 years of nothing. I wouldn't say it's 5 years of nothing. Let's not be too much of a hyperbole, if you know what I mean. Too exaggerated. But I think it would be fair to say that the expectations of what we all thought was going to happen with Paul Pogba when he came back haven't been met. And that would be a very fair thing to say. There's always a chance he'll sign, says Malps. I'm not, at this point, surely not. Really, really, surely not. As I said, look, he might do. He might do. But I'd be dead surprised. I'd really be dead surprised. Why is no signing coming in, says Ben Lim. Deadline move again. Hey, look, that's what Manchester United do, isn't it? Why do it nice and early with no drama if you can leave it nice and late and get a deadline day move? That's what we do. It's 18 days into the window right now. And we knew what was coming. We knew what we needed. We knew everything that was available. Hell, the stories came out from Fabrizio Romano that the Haidara conversations were first had at the start of December, way over a month ago. It's just the United way, I suppose. And I thought we actually operated quite well in the summer with our transfers. It surprised me. I thought John Murto had obviously improved and helped the situation. But you've got that game against Villa there. Perfect example. Perfect example. Because you've got a team there in Aston Villa who have just benefited from having Lucas Digne and Philip Coutinho. 2 January signings came in. They wouldn't have got that point if it wasn't for both of those players. Manchester United, had we signed a midfielder already at the start of the January transfer window, maybe that game against Wolves wouldn't have happened. Certainly that game against Villa wouldn't have happened. So there's already points that have been dropped, in my opinion, because we haven't made a midfield signing. That's not to say that we won't. Maybe Sakaria will come in for cheap. I personally think it's surely the most likely out of the players that we're getting linked to. We're not getting linked to that many players either. The Neves rumours, I don't think Neves, if we didn't sign Neves for 50, 60 million, whatever it was in the summer, I think he probably would he cost more now? I think he probably would have been available for cheaper in the summer, not 50, 60 mil, but I think he's probably about 50, 60 mil now. There's no way we're going to get Neves. Bissouma is a conversation that we should all be discussing. Bissouma's on the list, and I know you're a big fan of Bissouma. I know lots of you are big fans of Bissouma, but no word on Bissouma. Ndidi, we've never really been linked with Ndidi, have we? The only players we're being linked to are Zakaria and Haidara. Make of that what you will, but United really right now, it's all a bit quiet on the Western Front. Speaking of wars, that was a look at that transition. Flawless. Absolutely flawless. Anyway, we're speaking about Anthony Martial now. The main story from the headline, from the little tag down there, we all know what's going on. It's the main thing that sums up how much of a mess Manchester United are doing right now. You've got a manager saying that a player's not wanting to play. You've got a player saying the manager's lying. I would never do that. You've got the player's agent who's going to the press and saying that he wants to leave the club without speaking to the manager first. The manager get pissed. It's like I don't know. It's like an unfolding soap opera in front of your face, but it's not the one you want because it's your club and it's your player and it's your manager. Anyway, this is the latest on Anthony Martial because I've stood firm on this, right? I don't really care. Genuinely, I don't really care who's lied in this situation because there's one fact. There's one fact that we know. Martial wants to leave Manchester United. His agent has gone to the press, has confirmed it. He wants to leave Manchester United. So nothing else matters. Just get him out the club. Simple as that. I don't care whether it's going to be a messy exit, a nice smooth exit. Clearly, it's not going to be a smooth exit. But that's what we need to speak about here. Russell, I'm going to be speaking about this whole situation now. Don't worry about that. You can speak about who's in the right, who's in the wrong here. But as I said, it all remains around that one fact. Martial wants to leave. So let's get him out the club. Right. Fabrizio Romano here yesterday saying that Martial's departure hinges on Manchester United paying part of his salary. Let's scroll down and read the story here together. Martial's hopes of leaving United on loan this month could rest on whether United are willing to pay a portion of his wages. We go down here. It said United are believed to want his £150,000 a week salary covered in full, plus a loan fee. Now, that's the big thing about salaries, right? We had a big discussion, didn't we, yesterday, about Manchester United's overinflated contracts. Ronaldo on 400 grand a week. We were speaking about Bruno Fernandes and what does he deserve? Because he's on 50k. He was on 50k at Sporting. That got doubled at United to 100k. And now he wants more. He wants parity with Ronaldo, who's on like 400. And they said that Martial was on over 200,000. And now all of a sudden here we're seeing he's on 150,000. No one really knows about wages, do they? Anyway, let's go down here. So basically, Martial's rejected approaches from both Spurs and Newcastle because he doesn't want to move to another Premier League club. He wants to move abroad. Now, Sevilla, what are the names being linked here? You've got Sevilla, Juve, and Barca. Barca have only just about managed to register Ferran Torres after they managed to ship out Coutinho and I can't remember who else they sold. Can they really afford Martial? I don't know. Maybe they could. But all the stories here we're reading are, no one right now is willing to pay Martial's wages. And I've said this before, right? I think Man United need to take a hit here. We've got to take a hit on a player that, quite simply put, does not want to be here. So whether or not he refused to travel, whether or not Ragnick fabricated that, although I don't really know why he would, right? It's just a bit odd. But I'm going to cover the story in full, look at both sides of it. I'm not going to make my own decision until we read it. If he doesn't want to play for us, just get him out. It's going to benefit the dressing room unity. It's going to benefit Ragnick far more to not have a player like Martial around if he doesn't want to be here. That's my opinion. There's a comment here from Russell, which I'm going to bring up here, but I suppose it's going to cause a bit of debate. We only want to leave because of game time and xenophobic abuse from some of our own fan base because of poor form last year. I find this a bit odd. I see this quite a lot of the time. People saying, I think people say it to me as well. Like, I've got an agenda towards British players that if someone's foreign, that I abuse them more, and I abuse. Do I fuck? Seriously, I think some people try. And I'm not saying you, Russell, but I'm saying in general, I genuinely think there's like a desire for there to have to be an agenda. It's like, no, he's just been shit. Okay, you could say, well, why don't you give the same abuse to Rashford? Because my memories of Rashford over the last 3 to 4 years mean that Rashford, in my opinion, has got a lot more leeway than Anthony Martial. And it's as simple as that. It's nothing to do with xenophobia. It's nothing to do with anything like that. He's just not playing good enough. So I want him to leave. And there's no agenda. There's no xenophobia. There's no racism. Let's not look for it where it's not there. And of course, I'm not saying that. I'm sure it does, and I know it does exist. And I'm not trying to say it doesn't. But for me personally, I'm looking at this Martial situation simply on what the players are doing for my club. And if Martial wants to leave, then I want him to leave. Done. Done and dusted. If Rashford came out and said, I want to leave Manchester United, good. Done. Leave the club. Anybody who doesn't want to play for Manchester United, I don't want them at Manchester United. And I don't know why that's so hard to understand. Anyway, Russell, a point you made there earlier, which is a very fair point, is what has been going on with Ragnick and Martial. As I said, to see this unfolding at our club, it's like, man, why can't it just happen at Spurs? You can just sit there and laugh. Just sit there and laugh. No, it's happened to United. Anyway, this comes from ESPN. This comes from Rob Dawson. Again, a man who I do trust, a very reliable journalist. Man United's Ralph Rangnick is open to repairing the relationship with Anthony Martial. Let's go on and read the story. Ragnick is open to the idea of rebuilding his relationship with Martial because the striker could yet remain at the club. Ragnick has held clearly air talks with Martial after the forward rejected the claim his manager's claim. Oh no, that's poor writing from ESPN there. Anyway, we all know what happened. Martial refused and rejected what Ragnick said about him refusing to travel. We scroll on, we read a bit more. Privately, now this is where I suppose it complicates the situation a little bit more, right? This is what's been said. Privately, Ragnick has insisted that he did not say Martial refused to travel, only that he did not feel he could play, and that the situation is a case of crossed wires rather than an irreparable rift between the pair. Well, Ragnick definitely did say that he didn't travel. That's what he said in his press conference, and he's intellectual enough and he's got a strong enough grasp of English. It's like it's his second language, but he speaks it perfectly. I think he knew what he was saying. And if you're talking about irreparable rift, you could say, Ragnick started this by not playing him. But Ragnick was trying to implement a pressing system. If you're looking at forwards at Manchester United that aren't going to do that, you're all going to put Martial top of that list. He's not going to play in a pressing system. That's not Martial's way. You could probably put Ronaldo up there as well if you wanted to. But I found that a bit odd. And when it comes to speaking about whether or not, because at this point, right, this is where it gets a bit dangerous, right? We have to start making assumptions. We have to start making guesses. We have to start saying, who do we believe? And start pointing fingers without real facts. This one here, this is why I find it all confusing about this whole situation with who lied. United's bench at Villa Park included only 8 players and 2 goalkeepers. Why on earth would Ragnick not include Martial and give himself fewer options on the bench and put 2 goalkeepers there? Something doesn't match up. Something doesn't match up. Something here that I do agree with that Ant is saying here, and I do think this. So this, I didn't bring the article up because this has come from a Disco, David McDonald from the Mirror. He's saying that Ragnick has been told to repair that relationship, and I think that's part and parcel of it. I reckon it's part and parcel of it, because I think United are sort of understanding, said, "Shit, man, we've got this player on this huge contract. We don't want to pay his wages. He doesn't want to be. He doesn't want to be at the club. Therefore, we don't want him at the club. But no one wants to pay the wages, and now he's falling out with the manager. Fuck. What do we do now? What do we do now?" So I think Ragnick is. I think Ragnick's been advised to sort of try and repair the bridge in case it gets to the situation where in 13 days' time, Tony Martial's still a United player. I don't want players in and around in an ideal situation for me in January. Martial would go, Lingard would go. I'd probably say Pogba would be sold. I don't think he wants to be here anymore. And we've reinvested that money. But it's the January transfer window. Moves such a big as that don't really happen. So we know that. But Martial, the situation is odd. In the same way as you could argue, Ragnick not playing Martial at all, that's a big reason why their relationship is broken down. I would say, yeah. And then conversely, Martial's agent going to the press and saying that he wants to leave Manchester United instead of knocking on his door and speaking to Ragnick, that didn't help it from that angle. That's what I mean. It's just a mess. The whole thing's just a mess, because then people to say, he wouldn't have done that in the press if Ragnick had actually played Martial. It's like, who's the victim? Who's the perpetrator? It's like, man, I don't give a fuck. I just want to watch my team play at the weekend, score 3 goals, keep a clean sheet, and move on. Football's a simple game, but we're making it as complicated as possible off the pitch at the moment, and on the pitch, let's be honest. Sam, I find it funny that you only agree with Martial's viewpoints that paint him negatively. No, it's exactly what I just said there. Well, that's a wrong comment. I said he's got every right to be frustrated at the lack of game time. In the same way that Donny van der Beek has every right to be frustrated at the lack of game time. Do I see anything going on with Donny van der Beek and Ralph Ragnick? Do I hear Donny van der Beek's agent coming out to the press and saying he wants to leave the club? No, not by comparison. I don't. It's strange. People really think there's sort of agendas. There's no agenda. I've crafted my opinion on Martial on the 5 years he has been a Manchester United player, from being that teenager who came to the club as an 18-year-old, scored that goal against Liverpool in his debut, got 15 goals in his first year under Van Gaal. He was a completely different type of player to what we're seeing now. And in that first full season under Solskjaer, Martial was like, he scored tap-ins at the front post. He scored headers. He was playing with his back to goal. We were looking at him going, wow, like, my God, Martial looks like a completely and utterly different type of player. He looks more like a complete forward. And the development that year under Solskjaer was amazing. And then look at what happened the year after. He disappeared off the face of the earth. His form fell off a cliff, and he has never got back off. Never got back up it. So this isn't an agenda against Martial. This is a fan who has, in my opinion, given enough time to Martial. And now I'm done. I'm done with it. Move on. Sure. You want to leave? Auf Wiedersehen. Or, sorry, au revoir. That's it. There's no agenda, people. Don't try and put agendas where agendas are not there. I know it's fashionable to do that. This is not an agenda. This is just an opinion that's been crafted over the years of watching him. I'm not making this opinion off the back of one bad game. Hell, he's been at the club for 5 years now? Jeez, people. It's strange. It's very odd. Let's move on to the next one. Speaking of odd, you want to see how bad Manchester United are. Flamengo will have to increase their bid to sign Andreas Pereira permanently. They have offered £6.7 million, but United want more than 10 million. Wow. United could quite literally sell Andreas Pereira, a player who's disappeared off the face of the earth, to Flamengo, and get Dennis Zakaria for a net zero, and therefore improve our midfield options. But instead, we're saying, nah, we want 10 mil for this player that we really do not care about. Jeez, man. Come on. Just take that money. Woof. See you later, Andreas. Thank you very much for that free kick goal in pre-season. There's a free kick, edge of the box, cracking goal, off the crossbar. Take that money. 6.7 for him, spend it on Zakaria, net zero. All of a sudden, Man United have a new midfield option, and we haven't had to spend a penny. But instead, we're saying, and it's weird, is that I've actually I've had a United over the years. When you've watched us in transfer windows, we've been so bad at getting the right prices for players, haven't we? So maybe I'm being wrong here. Maybe he is worth that point. But 6.7 mil for Pereira. Jeez, man. Take that and go. Woof. Instead, we're digging our heels in. A very odd time to dig your heels in. I think we should dig our heels in with certain players, but not with Andreas Pereira, who's just spent a year. He's on loan at Flamengo. That was it. Amole said it wasn't a free kick. It was a rebound shot from the edge of the box. It was an absolute perler of a goal. Haven't learned anything at all about selling players. We just need to take what's offered and run, says Mickey. Hey, look, I understand, as I said, I understand digging the heels in for certain players to get the right prices. I think we've definitely undersold in terms of values players over the years. But Andreas Pereira is not the one to get hung up on. No. Look, speaking about midfielders, we should be moving. We're going to be moving on to Donny van de Beek soon. I have a little conversation about him because I've got such a huge agenda against Donny van de Beek as well. Ian, how you doing, Ian? I haven't read one of your comments out in a while. Players like Pereira, we just need to get out the door and off the books. Cash out where we can, reload the midfield, promote with youth. Hey, look, I think 7 mil for Pereira. It feels decent. How old is Pereira now? He's been around for time. Andreas Pereira. So look. Andreas Pereira, 26. Take that money and skedaddle. That's what I would say. But no, it's a bit weird. Anyway, Donny van de Beek. Let's have a conversation about Donny van de Beek. Hey, look, if you are new, welcome to United People's TV. I'm glad to be back here. I think the lighting looks a little bit better. Hopefully the microphone sounds a little bit better. Got some new lighting as well arriving today. It's all getting sexy. If you are new, make sure you please drop a like on the video, or just drop a like on the video anyway. There's probably more of you watching than have liked the video. It only takes a second, and it really does help the channel. It shows YouTube that you're enjoying the content, and maybe YouTube will show it to more people. But if you are new, drop a like on the video, and please subscribe as well. And if you want to support the channel, become a member, or you can fire in a super chat, and I'll always read out your super chats. A couple of comments here. Peter, good morning to you, my friend. How you doing there? Donny van de Bench says, and well, you can't really disagree with that. Or this one's for you. Right, let's speak about the man, the mystery, Donny van de Beek. Imoto saying the mic sounds much better, brighter and clearer. Good. Well, I'm really happy about that. Sam, you have an agenda against Donny and Martial. You're not a proper fan. I hope that's a good trolling comment because that's good. That's good. I like that. Anyway, let's speak about Donny. We've got Mark Ogden here. Mark Ogden, this always makes me laugh. Not makes me laugh, but it kind of goes to show you journalists are only as good as their sources. Mark Ogden, if you really cast your mind back, I remember it, he was the man that broke the news that Fergie was retiring. He obviously had really strong, clear sources inside that setup at Manchester United. But he's kind of fell off a cliff since then. Unlucky Mark. Anyway, sources have said that Van de Beek is too slow to be an effective Premier League player, and that despite his attempt to become stronger physically, he continues to lack the strength required at the highest level. Now, do you think that's a fair assessment of Donny? You saw the bulk that he put on at the start of pre-season. He came back, I think he came back like 2-3 kilos heavier, but it was a good 2-3 kilos. Not just like us fat gits after Christmas coming back 3-4 kilos heavier. It's not the same thing. But Van de Beek, he's played 50 games for United, and it feels like we've hardly watched him. Weird, isn't it? Really weird. But this from United Arena, if you don't follow UTD Arena on Twitter, you should. It's a fantastic piece they did yesterday on... he's a data man. And I thought this was very, very interesting. So this is Manchester United's outfield player usage. Which players have received the most minutes per game and percentage of starts since the start of last season in the Premier League? Where do you reckon Donny van de Beek's on this list? And this is just the Premier League. So if you were to include the Europa League, you were to include the FA Cup or League Cup, I'm sure it would skew these stats. But I think the reality is we have to judge him on what we see in the Premier League mostly, because that's where it matters, right? And that's where you play your best players. So our outfield player usage since the start of last year. Right at the bottom. Right at the bottom. So if you're looking at that percentage of starts, he's starting 14% of games. That seems like quite a lot. But an average of 26 minutes per game with a minimum of 500 minutes. Donny van der Beek is by far and away bottom of that list. So this is where I think the arguments are fair, because it depends which data and which stats you want to look at. With Donny van der Beek, people will say, look, man, he's played 50 games for United, and I don't think he's done enough to earn that spot in the squad. This is the counter argument to that. Say, look, yeah, he has made 50 appearances for Manchester United, but look, he's never really used in the Premier League. He started one game in the Champions League. That was Young Boys, and he got hooked off at half-time because Wan-Bissaka decided to get the most ridiculous red card in the world. And he was playing very good in that first half as well. Remember that. Donny simply hasn't had the opportunities inside the Premier League for us to make that judgment about whether or not he's suited and an effective Premier League player. And I suppose it's chicken or the egg. And the most frustrating thing about all of this with Donny van der Beek is that our midfield has just been poor. Our midfield, look, we've got Fred and McTominay and Matic. It's not as if our midfield has been playing good at all, really. And that's where the frustrations really lie about Donny van der Beek. That's why so many people are pissed off that he hasn't been given more opportunities, because our midfield's been absolutely whack anyway. So therefore, you're like, why is Donny not getting more chances? And something here must be wrong. Something's happening behind the scenes. Something is happening in training that isn't impressing Ragnick, that didn't impress Solskjaer. It's just that's the only fact, surely, that we've got. Because for him to continue playing with Scott McTominay, even when he's playing badly, for him to continue playing with Fred, even when he's playing badly, for him to continue playing with Matic, even when he's playing badly, and simply overlooking Van der Beek, something must be wrong. Something must be up that we just don't know, that we can't see. Or Solskjaer and Ragnick both personally hate Donny van der Beek, which for me doesn't really seem correct. Seems like a really nice guy. Seems like a really professional player, kept his head down, worked hard, despite the adversity, continued to work hard. And I feel sorry for him. I said at the start of the season, I said Manchester United need to keep Donny van der Beek for our own purposes. I think it would have suited Manchester United to keep him inside that squad now. But looking at these stats there, for his own sake, for his own mental health as well, because there's only so much adversity you could take. When it comes to working hard in life, if you work and work and work and you feel like you're putting all the effort in possible and you still don't get what you want at the end of it, can be a mentally draining experience. And I think that's happened to Donny van der Beek a lot in the last couple of years. So I think for his own sake, mentally, physically, for his own career, I think he should be forcing an exit. If there's anybody that should be putting in a transfer request this January, it should be probably Donny van der Beek. But maybe he's biding his time because he knows that Baldy, the Dutch Baldy, is coming in. Imagine that. Imagine that turnaround. Or I know you'd like this, and I'm sure plenty of you would as well. Van der Beek stays, gets a few minutes between now and the end of the season. Ragnick goes upstairs. Erik ten Hag comes in. Donny van der Beek, all of a sudden, starts every single week for Manchester United in a midfield three. Now, that is quite a horny idea. But, it could happen. But I don't think it... With Van der Beek, there's 13 days left in a transfer window. We've heard Ragnick saying that he wants to keep him. We've heard nothing really about him forcing a move away. I don't think that he's going to be leaving. And therefore, I really hope between now and the end of the season, somehow Donny van der Beek gets in our team, finds his place in that team, inside a midfield three, But then Paul Pogba's coming back in February. So if the chance is going to go to anyone, the chance are going to go to Paul Pogba, aren't they? Ain't that the truth? This is a bit random. This came out yesterday. I want to show you this. These are leaked pictures, apparently, of our kit next season, going back to the collar. The collar there, the triangles, old school Adidas, the button at the top. I mean, you got to love a collar, don't you? It's back to like 1994. What do you think about that? I think it's a bit weird-ish. I don't really like the triangles on the collar. I like a plain collar. I'm not really sure what the idea of those triangles are. But yeah, I just want to show you that. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. And I'll read a few of your comments out down here. Cantonar Collar says, at Meshwa, absolutely, Cantonar Collar. And you're saying, send Donny out to a championship team for the rest of the season. If he can cut it there, he can cut it in the Prem. Send everybody possible to Wayne Rooney. Because what Wayne Rooney is doing at Derby is incredible. I think they're 9 points away from being out of the relegation zone. And they had a 21-point deduction. They've had 2 transfer embargoes. And they started the season, I think, with 8 first-team players. Wayne Rooney, I thought he was going to be a bad manager. Put my hands up and say that. But wow, I think Wayne Rooney's doing a great job. So yeah, send him out there. Send him. Sar, what are you saying? I personally think we have the weakest midfield in the league. We get outclassed by every Premier League team we come against, and by any manager coming in should get this sorted out. There's no way that Ten Hag comes into this team with this squad and plays his style of football. It's simply impossible without a midfield. Midfield is, lo and behold, it's the most crucial part of any team. It's the heart of every team that links the defense to the attack. It's the glue that keeps everything together in the middle. If you don't have that, all you can do is just lump it from back to front. Quick, direct attacks. That's what United do. It's what United have done for a long, long time. We can't do that anymore. We need to sign midfielders. Now, will it be Haidara? I've spoken about it. As a quick recap here, let's run through this. Anno, just saw your comment there. So for anybody who's joining in just a little bit late, this is a quick recap here. We've got Man United are in talks with Haidara. Nothing's really happening. Leipzig are not really pushing to sell him anytime soon. But if we want a midfielder, let's go and sign one. We spoke about this, the links from James Ducker saying that we're in for John McGinn. John McGinn. Yes, that John McGinn from Aston Villa, but not until the summer. We had a discussion about that. I said it's not the right player. Not the right player. Not for 40 million, 50 million. Speaking about the fact that we could appoint Ten Hag or Poch or whoever our new manager is before the end of the season, I'd like to see United move early. And I don't really think it would change too much in Ten Hag's end. Everybody at Ajax probably knows Ten Hag's leaving anyway, so it's not as if he's being disrespectful there. Depends if they're in the Champions League. We spoke about Paul Pogba's return. We spoke about Anthony Martial's departure. Ragnick and what's going on with his conversation, about Pereira, 6.7 mil. How the hell are we rejecting that? And then we had a little conversation here about Donny van der Beek. That's probably going to wrap it up for today. But unless anybody's got any questions, you got a minute now. Fire in your questions that you would like me to answer that I haven't answered. As I said, my Brentford 11 is going to come out probably about 1 or 2-ish. So that'll be out later today. No doubt we're going to have some changes. McTominay and Shaw, I believe, are both back after their 1-game suspensions. I apologise, by the way, because I was in a rush before I went to Ireland for the funeral. I did my predicted 11 early, and I may have forgotten that McTominay and Shaw were banned. So both of them were in my starting 11. Whoops. I definitely did not get 11 out of 11 right on that one. That's for sure. Let's go down here into the comments and see what you're all saying. I don't think Ten Hag will come. Apparently, the favourite is Mancini. Let's not be silly. And no, it won't be Mancini because obviously Mancini is with Italy. So if it was Mancini, we wouldn't get him until January next year, and that's pointless. Absolutely pointless. Do you think that we can bring in a youth player, says Nautica, to shore things up? If you're looking at midfielders that could do things for United, Hannibal's more of an attacking midfielder or a winger. He's been playing on the left wing for Tunisia. He's not really a central midfielder that we need. James Garner, obviously, is a player that could do that job, but he's thriving at Nottingham Forest. And I don't think he'd play every week at Manchester United. I think for his own career, I think it would be the best thing for him to stay there. But look, problems galore at Manchester United. We need results to turn it around, but we need performances too. We had that performance for the first 30. against Villa, and then everything went wrong. Ethan Galbraith, he's a good little player, plays for Ireland as well. I don't know what he's been doing this season, I'll be completely honest. But I don't think United can be looking at an academy player to come and bolster our entire midfield right now. I think that'll be unfair expectations on that player and probably unrealistic expectations. What we need is our senior players to keep their head screwed on. I said it. Fred's lack of football IQ. He won the ball back high up the pitch to make it 2-0 to Manchester United with his pressing, and then his pass to Fernandes. But even then, after 2-0, he was just running all over the place. He was first to press ahead of Cavani, and it left Matic with this huge space to cover because Bruno does it too. That's just a lack of footballing IQ. It's a lack of footballing game management. Both Fernandes and Fred should have said, you know what? We're 2-0 up. How long's left? 20 minutes. All we've got to do is protect this lead. Let's drop a little bit deeper. Let's leave those runs up front for Elanga. Let's leave those runs up front for whoever's up there. Instead, Fred and Bruno were just pelting around. Poor football IQ. From the bench, in not telling the players what to do, or maybe they did and didn't listen. I don't know, but I don't think they did. And the players in not thinking about that themselves. Very odd. Look, let's see what happens. We've got Brentford tomorrow. We need to get a result because everything's going wrong at United at the moment, isn't it? And it's weird. I expected Roy Keane's reaction to be a little bit more vociferous after the Villa game because it was such a mentally weak example to lose that 2-0 lead. But let's see what goes on against Brentford. Hopefully we get a new midfielder in. It's the January transfer window, so I will be here on United People's TV bringing you all the news when it happens. It's just there's no news to bring you. So I'm not going to bring you a video for the sake of a video. I'm going to bring you news as and when they happen. Speaking of news, Anna is right, the giveaway news. I'll get that sorted this week. As I said, we've got 5 Cantona shirts. We've got Ronaldo shirts we're still giving away. So I can't remember the name of the lad who joined as a member today, but you've been entered into a draw to win this bad boy. I've still got, I think, 4 or 5 to give away. So we'll be giving one away on Friday, as always, maybe 2, not sure. But look, everybody, take it easy. Make sure you please join in later on today. You can't join in, but watch my predicted 11 for the Brentford game, and I'll be here tomorrow morning at 9:30. And if anything happens today, breaking news-wise with transfers, you know where to come. United People's TV. Take it easy, everyone. Have a good day.